thank you for volunteering to be a mentor in the J-Inspire Chavrusa program. Just want to give you a short set of guidelines to help your Chavrusa go more smoothly, some eitzos to help you be more effective. So the first thing you have to know, as in all Kiruv activities, the number one idea, the number one point that we have to keep stressing again is it's all about relationship. 95% of outreach, Chavrusa learning, being a mentor to somebody is about relationships. Now, it's interesting because the Chavrusa, the learning, which we understand that's the goal, that's the job, that really just provides the kvias. It provides you a set time to develop a relationship with somebody and to move them along in a Kiruv process. So that's how you have to look at it. It's a kvias. You're there to establish the relationship. So particularly in the beginning, when you learn with somebody, what you want to do is you want to schmooze with them, you want to get to know them, you want to make a connection to them, and become a friend. That's going to be the background, the backdrop of your learning with them. So you want to take that time to start with schmoozing, with reconnecting, always with connecting to them. Now some people, particularly ladies, are so great at schmoozing and so great at relationships that they forget to move to the learning. It is a good idea to always try to pivot at some point to sharing some learning with them, to sharing some wisdom with them, because you don't want it to be just about relationship, about going out for coffee, about having a new friend. You want it to have a new friend, but you want to be able to move it in a Yiddishkeit type of a way. Now, sometimes people think, if you haven't done this before and you're not used to Kiruv, that you have to convince someone of your position when you learn with them, or you have to argue, or you have to be the defender of the Orthodox position. You don't really have to do that at all. You're not presenting yourself as a teacher. You're not presenting yourself as an expert, as a rabbi or a rebbitzin. You really are presenting yourself and should present yourself as someone who's sharing the learning process with you. I might know more than you, you might know a little less than me, but we're going to learn together. You'll learn what you don't know, I'll learn what I don't know. You should also realize that often the mentor-chavrusa relationship will wax and wane a little bit. Sometimes you'll be learning a week in, week out, or every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, whatever the case might be. And then you'll get busy or they'll get busy, and it'll wane a little bit. So it's important, first of all, for you not to be discouraged, not for you to be disappointed, not for you to think that they're not interested. Most of the time, it's not that they're not interested. It's just that they got busy, just like you got busy. Now, to go back to a point really I should have made at the outset, it's probably a good idea for you to touch base with your Chavrusa weekly. That should be your goal. You should try to learn weekly, but at the very least, touch base weekly. I'll tell you why. Because if you get in the habit of touching base and saying, hi, I know we can't learn this week, but I just want to say hi, and maybe here's an idea you might leave them with, or you might give them an idea about Shabbat or something like that. It makes it much easier to pick up the learning again with them when they're available, or when you're available. In other words, if you haven't seen somebody or had any contact with somebody for weeks on end, it becomes a little awkward picking up the learning. So you could text, you could call, you could email. Just make sure you keep in contact. That's the idea. Just like you would in any normal relationship, you would keep up. You would keep up the contact. Now, to that extent, sometimes what I always do, whether I'm in a waning period or I'm just in a normal period with my chavrusa, is every once in a while I'll send a really good article or a video that I will see, on H.com or other websites that I think would interest them. Now, it's very important to not inundate. There are always people who send you, it seems like they send you 15 emails a day, and you never even open up the email anymore. You don't want to be that stalker with your partner. So I have a kind of a rule of thumb. Don't really send anything more than twice a month unless you know that they want to hear what you're sending them. In other words, if they love Israel, or they're totally fixated on what's happening with Iran and Israel, send them those kind of articles, send it to them. Or if they love history, or if they love any particular thing, that you can send them. But if not, try not to send them anything more than twice a month. And never send it as a chain email that you're saying to a lot of different people. Always make it personal, because again, it's a way to move your relationship forward, and it just keeps a backdrop of Yiddishkeit, a backdrop of ideas. Now, one important thing is if you do have disagreements with your chavrusa, or they're just not, at your level at this point from various observances, try to validate them. In other words, I'll give you an example. If someone says their daughter or their niece, their sister's daughter, just had this sort of treif bat mitzvah in Israel or wherever it might be, and it's not the way you would do it or I would do it. Just try to validate them to the extent of, it's really amazing that many people today wouldn't even choose to have a bar bat mitzvah. So many people don't even care. It's amazing that you still care, that you're able to do it. Now, you didn't validate or say the way they did it was great, but you really validated them and their Jewish expression. You don't want to ever let them feel judged. That's one of the things that kind of is in the back of their psychology, that Orthodox people judge them. So you want to be validating. Similarly, when they ask a question, even if it's a challenging question, when they make a statement, you always try to validate to the extent you can. Boy, you're really thinking. That's really an important issue. That's really a sensitive issue. If they demonstrate good midos, they particularly don't gossip, or or they're very good at kibbud avim. Try to stress that and try to say to them, that is an amazing, character trait that you have, and it's really something that's very much stressed in our tradition. They'll feel like $1,000,000. Feel very good about that. Another very important thing is don't let the kiruv that you're doing outpace the relationship. The relationship is like the foundation of a building. If you have an example, a very small foundation, you can't put a huge first floor on that foundation. So for example, if someone would ask you a very challenging question, something about homosexuality as an example, something about women in Judaism, something that you find very, very challenging, it's almost aggressive. So at the right time, with the right relationship that you have with your partner, there's almost no topic that cannot be addressed. Everything is on the table when you have a good relationship, because it's not, they don't take it personally. If you have a very little relationship, there's almost no sensitive topic that you can talk about. So it's very important. Always keep putting into the relationship, and then you can, in a commensurate way, move along the kiruv. For example, at some point you could ask your chavrusa if they'd like to spend the Shabbat at your house, a whole Shabbat. Now, if you did that right off the bat, that would probably be outpacing the relationship. But if you did it at the appropriate time, it would be a natural extension of the relationship. And another way to deal with some controversial issues or questions that you don't think they're ready to deal with is push them off. I always do this. Now, one of the ways to push it off very nicely is just saying, that's a very important point, very valid question you have, and again, validate the question or the idea, but say, that has got to, you have to develop a context. You have to know more about Judaism, about Jewish philosophy, to really put this piece in the puzzle in. It's a very important piece. Like an example, Sadik Varala, Rasha V'Tovlo. That's a very important philosophical question that many people are bothered by. But you kind of need to know, who's God? How does God run the world? What is the purpose of man? To be able to really understand that properly. It can't be taken out of context. So that's one way to push off. I also push off with humor all the time. I'll give you an example. Someone will ask me, a lady will ask me a question, typical question, Rabbi, how come women are second-class citizens in Judaism? And I always make a bit of a joke, and I say, I'd be happy to answer your question, but why are you asking me? I'm on the opposite team. I'm one of the oppressors. That's what I tell them. They laugh, but what it does is it sort of, once you make a joke and once you throw it off, it sort of, you reduce the challenge. I know Rav Noach Weinberg Zatzal, he used to always say when someone would ask a question, he wanted to know if they were serious. He would say, you'll think the answer is crazy. And when they were persist 3 times and saying, no, I really want to know, similar to what you do with a ger, you push them away 3 times, he'd finally say, okay, you want to hear? He'd tell them the answer, and they would say, Rabbi, that was the craziest thing I ever heard. He said, I told you so. That's what you would say. But again, it disarms them totally, and what it does is it qualifies the question when it's really a question. Because often, sometimes throw out questions, they're not really bothered by something, or they want to push you off. Particularly when I hear men talk about women's issues, I'm like, they don't really care about women's issues. I know it's a push-off. 9 out of 10 times, the Holocaust question, how could God do that? That's a push-off as well. So you have to know when to answer a question and when not to answer a question, and when the appropriate time is to ask a question. Now, The other thing that's very important is when you don't know the answer to a question, the best answer is, I don't know. And it's very underutilized. But again, as we said before, if you don't hold yourself as an expert or a rabbi or a rebbitzin or someone that is the quote-unquote the orthodox authority, then you should be more comfortable saying, I don't know. And I don't know is a tremendous validation of the other person. When they hear I don't know and you follow it up with, wow, that was a great question. And sometimes you'll even say, that's something that I've done by rote my whole life, and I really should know that. I'm almost embarrassed I don't know that. They feel tremendous. And then you could say, and we'll find out about that together. That's a great question that I should have asked a long time ago, and we'll find it out. Or it can be also a very good opportunity to connect them with a rabbi, connect them to an article, connect them to a person that really can answer that question. And if it was a rabbi or a rebbitzin or someone in the community, that's a whole other aid in the kiruv process that you've then grafted onto your tree. So that's a very, very best answer is I don't know. Now the one thing I would recommend, this is totally up to you, it won't necessarily make you a less effective chavrusa, is that you really can always work on your knowledge base, your kiruv knowledge base. If you were to look through the book, the Aish.com book, Kiruv Primer. It's called The Eye of the Needle. It's a Feldheim book. Fantastic. It'll go through almost any issue that a new Baal Tshuva will have. Women's issues of Torah and science, proofs of God, proofs of Torah, how to approach chukim like kashrut, and so on and so forth. It's a tremendous book if you just want to get a basic overview. It's because you're a little unsure of some of the questions that they might ask. Also, to go on Aish.com and to peruse that website, say, reading an article or two a week. The Ask the Rabbi section is also fantastic to build up your kiruv knowledge database. Also, the Or Sameach Ask the Rabbi site is also phenomenal. And there's another website, Simple to Remember, which is also quite good. So this is something you can do to increase your knowledge and increase your efficacy in your chavrusa learning. I just want to mention as well, if you go on tangents in your learning, and you're talking about personal issues and different things, don't think you're not doing the assignment. This is particularly for the men out there that are listening to this. Men think that if you have a job and your job is to learn, if you stray from the learning, you did something wrong. You didn't follow directions. That's not true, because in this endeavor, in this relationship building that we're after, the tangents are often the most important things that will move them along in a kiruv context. And I think you'll find as you learn with people, some of the best sessions were those sessions when you went off the track and you didn't necessarily get to the learning you were interested in, or perhaps sometimes you didn't even get to the learning at all. You can kind of show them Judaism in real life, in real action. Now, what you should also do, as you can, is, to the extent possible, is look for other opportunities to get them involved in Yiddishkeit beyond your learning. Remember, the learning is, again, a kaviyas, but you want to be thinking, what's the next experience my partner needs? Should I bring them to a simcha, one of my simchas? Should I get them for Shabbos Friday night? Should I get them for the entire Shabbos? Should I bring them to a Purim Suda? What can I do with Simchas Torah? What's the next? Should I suggest a trip to Israel? What's the next experience I can get my partner to be doing? You also want to think about the wider kiruv situation. What about the husband? What about the wife? What about the children? Because you're going to typically, the chavrusa, the mentor, is a point person to a whole family. So to the extent you can, it'd be great if you can get your husband or your wife to perhaps come in and help you with the kiruv with their spouse. Or, for example, they have children that are teenagers. What's NCSY doing in your area? Are there any other resources that you could be a shadchan and hook up her significant others in her life? As well, one other very good thing is to know if the kids are in college, who is the campus makarev? Is there a good person? Is there a ma'or person on campus? I just had the good fortune, I've been working with a good friend of mine for 20 years, and his daughter just went off to the University of Maryland. I happen to know there's a great makarev, a fellow from Ma'or, a rabbi from Ma'or on that campus. I made the shidduch. It's been tremendous how she's grown and how my friend's family has grown. So think about the other people in the family that you can help move along. Now, another thing is, at some point, it goes beyond relationship. You do want to try to help them not only have more great Jewish experiences, but you also like to help them increase their observance. And again, if you have a very strong relationship, it's no problem asking people about mitzvah observance. The way I do it, I think I have a very good mahalik in this, is that you say, have you ever thought of ... Have you ever thought of keeping kosher? Have you ever thought or considered about sending your child to day school? You're posing it as a discussion amongst two friends. You're giving them credit for their seichel, for their knowledge, for them being a mature person who has bechira. And they take it that way. It's a discussion, and often they'll say, I did consider once a long time ago keeping kosher, but now I'm considering it even more strongly. And you have a wonderful discussion. Now, if they decide to take on the mitzvah, great. If they don't take on the mitzvah, it will not hurt your relationship at all. It really will strengthen it if it comes from this kind of approach. Have you ever considered? The ball's in your court. I'm not telling you to do anything. We're just having a discussion about it. I'll give you another idea that I use typically Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, but it's good for the whole year round. It's based on the Maharal commentary in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that the world stands on three things: Torah, Avoda, and Gemilas Chasadim. He says that represents three different relationships in the world. Torah is your relationship to yourself. Avoda, prayer, is your relationship to God. And the third relationship is Gemilas Chasadim, your relationship to your fellow man. And I say to them, just like a stool needs three legs to be able to stand, so to a human being, to be holistic, to be a full holistic Jew, you need all three of these legs defined. So I say, we should always have something in chesed and Gemilas Chasadim that we're doing, some way we're reaching out to other people. We should always have something that we're doing in our relationship to God, whether it's the Shema, whether it's prayer, whether it's tefillin, a mezuzah, something expressing our connection to God. And we should also be learning Torah that's related to myself and my growth, my character development. I find they think this is a tremendous thing. It takes it from being overwhelming, the 613, to be saying I should be doing three mitzvahs, always working on three areas of growth. Torah, Avoda, and Gemilas Chasadim. I just find this is a very nice way of helping them along in mitzvah observance. The other thing that we just want to mention, particularly now I happen to be giving this shiur right on the cusp of Hanukkah. It's starting tonight. Every holiday provides a tremendous Kiruv opportunity. Hanukkah is one of those great holidays that also has this idea of giving a gift, which is American culture and the gelt, but we can use it to our advantage as well. You can get them a very nice little book, Jewish Matters. It's in the air, a season of giving. So to give them a gift, to give them a book, Rosh Hashanah time, to give them honey, to give them an easy outreach gift that Project Inspire is always bringing to the market. This is a tremendous opportunity to have them come over your home for a masiba, where you're candle lighting, to bring them over to your home on Sukkot for a meal in the Sukkah on Chol HaMoed. These are great opportunities that we have, every few months to bring someone into your home and have an enhanced Kiruv experience. So this is just a short overview of a Charusa relationship, a mentor relationship. Also, just one other idea about what to learn. Now, we have a curriculum called the Higher Ground Jewish Life Curriculum, which is a Torah's Chaim curriculum dealing with pleasure and love and relationships, self-esteem. You're welcome to use that, and we have that posted on our website, jinspire.org. But also, if you don't, often what appeals to people is kind of what you're interested in. They say that words that come from the heart enter the heart. So what you're passionate about and what you're interested in and what you feel you can kind of give over and feel comfortable with, typically your partner will like that as well. I find that many people don't really have such an answer to what do you want to learn, and it's really so much about the relationship. But we do also at Project Inspire have a list of books that we can give you if you want to learn about prayer or you want to learn about any other topic. We can give you that list. And always, I find Pirkei Avos and Chumash are two very good tried and true areas to be learning from, which you can use as jump-off points to go in any which way, in any direction you want. So if you need any more information, please get in touch with me, Rabbi Simcha Barnett, at sbarnett@projectinspire.com, and we'd be happy to help you further with any more specific questions. Turn it off.